The laugh started as a joke, the kind people throw around during a bright lunch break when the sun is pouring through glass walls and nobody expects consequences. Three coworkers leaned against the office pantry counter, sunlight flashing off coffee machines, daring a tired single dad to do something impossible. Ask his boss out. They didn't see the weight behind his eyes or the quiet life he rushed home to every evening. They didn't know that this dare would crack open a future none of them were prepared for. Before this story pulls you deeper, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected hope, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Midnight Tales. It helps stories like this find the people who need them most. Evan Mercer never planned to be brave. He planned to survive. His mornings began in daylight chaos, cereal spilled on the kitchen counter, mismatched socks, and his 6-year-old son Noah asking big questions while the sun climbed through their small apartment window. Evan packed lunches with one hand and tied shoelaces with the other, already thinking about deadlines and overdue bills. By the time he dropped Noah at school, the day had fully arrived, bright and demanding, with no room for mistakes. Being a single dad had taught him how to move forward even when his chest felt heavy. At the office, Evan blended into the background. He worked hard, stayed late, and never complained. His boss, Claire Whitmore, was the opposite of invisible. She carried herself with quiet confidence, always composed, always kind, but distant. She led meetings with clarity and listened like every word mattered. To Evan, she seemed untouchable, someone who lived in a different world than bedtime stories and discount groceries. He admired her professionalism from afar and never allowed his thoughts to wander beyond respect. The dare happened during a rare moment of lightness. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, the kind of day that made people reckless. Someone joked about Evan never dating. Someone else teased him about being too serious. Then it escalated. Ask Claire out. Just once. For fun. Laughter echoed, careless and loud. Evan smiled weakly, his stomach tightening. They didn't mean harm, but they didn't understand. He wasn't afraid of rejection. He was afraid of hope. All afternoon, the idea followed him like a shadow. He tried to focus on spreadsheets, but his mind kept drifting. He thought about Noah's laughter, about promises he'd made to keep life stable. He thought about how long it had been since anyone had looked at him as more than a responsibility. As the day stretched on, the office buzz softened. Sunlight shifted, turning warmer, more golden. Claire stepped out of her office, arms full of files, and for a brief moment their eyes met. She smiled, small and genuine. Something inside Evan shifted. He didn't plan the moment. It arrived quietly in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. His heart pounded as he stood near her office, palms damp, mind racing. He almost walked away. Almost. But then he thought about how life had already taken so much from him and how fear had become too comfortable. So he spoke, voice steady despite the storm inside. He didn't expect anything. He just wanted honesty. Claire didn't laugh. She didn't look shocked or offended. She paused, really paused, as if she saw him for the first time beyond reports and deadlines. The hallway was filled with daylight and the distant hum of printers. When she responded, her expression softened, and in that moment, everything changed. She didn't give him an easy answer. She gave him a real one. She told him she admired his dedication, that she'd noticed the way he rushed out every afternoon and the care he put into his work. She told him she was cautious, that mixing work and personal life wasn't simple. But she also told him something unexpected. She respected his courage. She suggested coffee, not as a boss, not as an obligation, but as two people willing to see where a conversation might lead. Evan walked back to his desk feeling lighter than he had in years. The dare had ended, but something far bigger had begun. That evening, the sun was still high when he picked Noah up from school. He listened more closely, laughed more freely. For the first time in a long while, the future didn't feel like a closed door. It felt like a window cracked open, letting daylight in. Their coffee happened on a Saturday afternoon, sunlight spilling across a quiet cafe. No expectations, no labels, just stories shared slowly. Evan talked about fatherhood, about learning to be gentle with himself. Claire spoke about her own loneliness, the pressure of leadership, the fear of letting people get too close. They didn't rush. They let the day unfold naturally, like something fragile but promising. Weeks passed. Daytime lunches turned into walks during breaks. Conversations deepened. At home, Noah noticed the change before Evan did. His father smiled more. He hummed while cooking. The apartment felt warmer. When Evan finally introduced Claire to Noah in a sunlit park, it wasn't dramatic. It was simple. She knelt down, listened, and treated his son like he mattered. That was the moment Evan knew this wasn't just about romance. It was about healing. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There were awkward office moments, careful boundaries, and hard conversations. There were days Evan doubted himself, worried he was risking too much. But there was also growth, trust, the understanding that second chances don't arrive loudly. They arrive quietly, disguised as small, brave choices made in the daylight. Years later, Evan would look back on that afternoon dare and realize it had never been about impressing coworkers. It had been about believing he deserved more than survival. Claire's answer didn't just change his love life. It changed the way he saw himself. Not as a single dad defined by loss, but as a man worthy of joy, connection, and hope. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that courage can grow in the most ordinary moments, please take a second to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Before the ending, we have one special request. Comment the word hope below if you believe that one brave moment can change a life. Because sometimes all it takes is a dare in the daylight and the courage to say yes to a future you never thought you deserved.